Okay, so we've got one f6. f6 or e7. Sweet, that's exactly what I'm asking, right? Are we doing f6 or e7? You have to pick. h6 actually is an interesting move, but it only came to life, let's say 100 years later, even more than 100 years later. The idea of putting the knight on the side and then getting it toward f5 or g4 with the attack. But nowadays, back in the days, it wasn't considered. So f6 or e7. Okay, we've got f6, f6, f6. Well, both. You cannot do two moves, right? Yeah, you have to choose. You're playing a chess game. So f6, f6. F6. So the group is unanimously saying knight f6. Most of the time, people would actually play knight f6 in this position. And that's why the whole group is unanimous on that part. They would take control of e4 and would have a plan like this, right? Controlling those squares, castling. And again, don't really pay attention to what white is doing because I'm doing random moves. But black would probably do a develop like this, right? Then get the bishop out and continue their whole attacking idea. However, when I was still playing in the tournaments, I often tried a different approach. I always liked the idea that my bishop on g7 is super strong. And there are lots of different positions in which you better keep your bishop open. So if your idea is to strike through the center and only the center, nothing else, then yes, knight f6 would probably be the best. However, if you're considering to do center side, knight e7 might be an interesting option. Why? Because here, so again, knight e2 is because he doesn't know what to do with his bishop, and he probably wants to block the center. So castle. And now getting back to my option center side, because this knight could go to f6, and the other knight, like if needed, I'll go to c6. But if not needed, I could go to f5 or d5. So that's the whole notion of center side. The bishop is open, at least until the last move, right? So it kind of stops him from playing something super crazy, because they have to worry about the b2 pawn anyways, right? If instead of playing c4, he would have traded his bishop, well, then it's even better, right? Because I might even get control of the whole diagonal and have my two bishops open. And life is beautiful. So that's a little trick. Now, keep in mind, it's not always the best idea, but remember, before we took a little break, we were talking about centers. What type of a center is this one in the current game? Remember the three types of center? Open, close, and mobile. So what type of a center is this one? It's mobile center, right? It could become close, it could become open. But currently, is it more of a speedy game or of a slow game? Slow, right? So it's a mobile, but looks a bit more like a closed center because it's slow. When it's slow, we could allow ourselves to lose a bit of time if we want to improve our pieces, right? Because obviously playing knight e7 and knight c6, it takes us 2 moves instead of putting the other knight on c6 right away in 1 move, right? Same thing for knight f6, playing knight f6 in 1 move, or playing knight d7, knight f6 in 2 moves. So technically, we're wasting time for black. But it's not a waste of time, it's an improvement, and it gives us more options because we got time. The pace is slow. When the pace is slow, we could take time to improve our position. Does it make sense so far? Okay, so let's continue. So white doesn't really know what to do. So they're trying to attack in the center. They're trying to control the center, but now they made a little mistake. The mistake is that they thought they are protected. And I think they're not really protected. So what is in danger? Which little piece is in danger for white that black would attack?
The pawn?
Okay, yeah, I've got 8 pawns. Can you be more specific?
The F pawns?
A, B, C, D, E, F. F pawn? F4?
The C pawn.
The C4 pawn. Okay, thank you. So kids, even if we don't see the annotation, remember ABC? So the C4 pawn is not protected. And by the way, kids, again, because we had a little break and I forgot the first names, and I know that some of you are using your parents' Skype. So just for me to call you correctly, if your name is slightly different, please write it in the text. Okay, so black played a6. They're like, okay, get out. Okay, thank you. Marlin, Michael. Thank you, kids. Rory, right, Dustin. Thank you. Okay, bishop a4. But now, is the pawn on c4 really protected? Yeah, because the knight cannot take it anymore. You see, they thought that their pawn is well protected, and they played a5, knight e5, and they totally forgot about the pawn. But what's also bad about their position is, like, look at their bishop on c1. Can the bishop do anything? Nope, their bishop is stuck. So they're trying to get a fight through the center. Are we going to give them the center? They probably want to push e4 and everything. So how do we get control of all of that? We have a better position, so we need to be more aggressive and we need to start attacking, right? The one who has the advantage has to improve. So be aggressive. What should we play? Keep in mind, aggressive does not mean sacrifice. Okay, so Michael, b6, is it aggressive? I think it's a good move, but it's slow. Queen a5 for Rory. It is aggressive, but it doesn't attack anything. Thank you, Lindy, b5. Excellent. Same idea as Michael, but let's be aggressive. Let's win time. Let's kick him out. Let's get our bishop to the main diagonal at the same time. So look at that. If the d pawn moves, their en passant attack, there's also the c5 pawn that could attack him. The b pawn, it's scary to move the b pawn because if you ever move the b pawn, you could get, I don't know, like this knight could get pinned so easily. Not saying right away it's going to work, but hey, why not? My 2 bishops are super strong. So it's kind of scary at the same time. So white is like, okay, let's prepare. Queen e2. Okay, fine. You're preparing. I'm going to prepare as well. I'm gonna put my knight toward the center. Now keep in mind, what's the next good spot for that knight? Can anyone find me a next good spot for it? B4. Thank you, Michael. So you see the queen moved to E2. Nobody's protecting the bishop.
B4.
So if they try to kick us out, hey, look at the bishop. And guess what? If they make a silly move like this, just for fun, we could actually go and install ourselves like comfortably. Here, look at that C1 bishop. Is he going anywhere? And we cannot even put the queen here because of the pin, right? So the queen would have to stay back. And now, look, neither of the bishop nor the pawn can move. So plus we have extra pawn. So I guess we're much better, right? Now, if someone tells me, Danny, why did we move the F pawn and not the E pawn to D5? What do we tell them? We tell them that we want to get our bishop open, and the second knight has options. First, he's a defender, so he defends F5 from white's attack. And secondary, if we do something that's really not good like this, the knight could be used to pin, right? So we could always use different tricks to have different attacks. So knight d5, obviously they realize that something is going wrong. Knight f3, they're playing defensive. But at the same time, knight f3 means that they might want to push the e pawn and then the f pawns. I mean, they have to do something, right? So here, it's a move that personally, I'm not sure it's the best move, but I kind of agree with the idea. They play f5 just to make sure that white is not doing anything. Like, you know, we're stopping you here. That's it. If you push e4, keep in mind that your pawn is going to get weak, and I still have my whole attack in. If not, I just took full control of the center. Knight c6. So you see what I said about keeping the options open. It's a slow-paced mobile center, and it's a type of a position where all we do is improve our pieces and take more and more control. Rook b1. So now we improved the knights. We improved the bishops. The rooks are not connected. In order to connect the rook, I think we have to remove the queen, right? Because that would allow both rooks to get connected and keep attacking. Probably attacking the center would make sense. Where would we put our queen? How do we improve it?